Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching Super Wonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to Super Wonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today we are discussing Superman and Wonder Woman as mentors in the DC universe. So here's the thing. When you look at the different characters, like particularly like Superboy and Supergirl, and there was one other character in here that were definitely good. That when Britt put in the show notes, I was like, oh yeah. But it's like Superman and Wonder Woman, in addition to being like the leaders of the DC universe, they have done a lot to mentor the next generation of heroes, particularly like Kara, Connor, Vanessa to a degree, and Wonder Woman's being written by Tom King. But there is that. But yeah, so Britt, let's get started and let's talk about our mentor, shall we?
Right. So we know that Clark and Diana are supposed to be, basically the mother and the father of the superhero genre. They are supposed to be the leaders, the guides, of not just the legacy characters, but also just the entire community, even their peers. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is one thing that we have yet to see from Mark Wade, but he did say it in the interview that Clark and Diana are supposed to be the heart of the Justice League, and basically be while while Clark is like the spokesperson, or that I wouldn't just call him the symbol of hope, because all of them are the symbols of hope. But
Particularly when you add on Wonder Woman 2, they equally are both when you think about it.
right, so I would say he's just that face of being able to speak, especially if you add to the journalism part. He knows how to talk to the press and everything like that. Diana can too, but she is more, I would say she's more straightforward, and she's truthful, and so um it's a little bit more, it needs to be, have some type of filter, you know
Exactly.
filter there. So she's and in a sense she is the backup too.
Mm-hmm.
um and she's the moral compass, I would say. So they balance each other out. They balance that whole partnership that they are supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as with that, they are the ones that can guide everyone to the betterment of themselves. That is the purpose of Superman and Wonder Woman as a pairing and as individuals. But we rarely see them as mentors. um, it's been tried, but with DC trying to have Clark and Diana more so revolve around, Steve and Lois, and how they need them as crutches, or they're sometimes need to be handheld. The other characters, we don't get to see them as true guys that they are supposed to be. Um, a missed opportunity with Vanessa, with Diana. Perez, he really um, set that foundation. And yes, it was supposed to be tragic, but it was supposed to be also something that gave that sisterly bond too. And we didn't really get that. And especially now, present time, with Vanessa just straight up being a villain, or the weird twist that Tom King has put forth of Vanessa being infatuated, you know, having a crush on Diana or something.
Which
Um,
that's not even the other Silver Swan had that.
right. And others, Superboy, Supergirl, um, I mean, even if you want to add the biological kids that
Hmm.
DC is obsessed with, John, you really don't have that true mentorship with Clark and John because it started kind of with Tomasi, but they were really pushing forth of that's Damien's friend, and he learned or um not so much as learned from Damien, but just influenced by Damien. And they just wanted more of the superficial look that Superman is a father now. Just like Batman, you have Superman, Batman, Superman Jr., and Batman Jr.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly. And now you have and now you have Wonder Woman Junior. Like kidding.
yeah, Yakko, Wacko, Yakko, and Dodd. Yeah,
Oh God, I love that. You'll enjoy how I refer to her later in the PowerPoint presentation. But can I say I love this image because this has been like photoshopped so much, like to the point where people put the gray temples on Clark and darkened Kara's hair to the point where it's like Lara from Dark Knight Returns.
exactly. I I was very tempted to use that edit, but I was
Mhm.
like, no, but I should have for sure.
It still
Um,
works. But the other thing I love about this is like when they're both arguing about how to like what's best for Kara. Kara goes, do I get a say in this? And Wonder Woman and Superman both go, no.
they're definitely like the divorced parents,
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly. Which the other thing is like even when I'm reading the book or watching the movie, the animosity comes out of nowhere. I'm like, what?
I think this is where a lot of the writers try to put, Clark and Diana in this tension mode. They try to make them a bit antagonistic just for the sake of the story, but it doesn't work for them. You can have natural tension and they have disagreements, but to make them so annoyingly, antagonistic towards each other, it just doesn't work.
Exactly. It really just doesn't. But it's like it is really funny. But I mean, the reason why I kind of like it would be hilarious if there was a follow up to this book where where Kara goes, Cal, are you sure you're not married to her? Because it's like you certainly argue like you are.
And that was one thing that Connor said after,
Mhm.
I believe it was set after Sacrifice, where Clark and Diana, of course, off panel, because DC loves doing things off panel. But Connor mentions that they were arguing, and also he said that they should get a room. So, it's those types of things. Like I said, I think they try to force this tension and this antagonistic behavior because some writers either wanted to distance their relationship or they wanted to make it seem like they had this intensity where it was coming from a uh, repressed passion.
Yeah, exactly. But so continuing on, so let's start with Kara. Now, here's the thing: Kara is like in the unique position that like she has like been actually pretty close with Superman and Wonder Woman, even though some pervs like to ship her with Wonder Woman, which some. Well, then again, there are people that ship her with Clark. So should we really be be like surprised, Britt?
That is ridiculous.
Oh, trust me, there are some people that when I'm looking at this, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? But anyway, the thing about Kara that I think is really cool, what makes Kara a great character in the beginning, and particularly in the new 52, because they really played in on this. And Britt, I would recommend you definitely check out the new 52 because she remembers Krypton. In fact, what happens in the new 52 is that So she arrives on Earth with no memory of what happened to Krypton because, as far as she is concerned, she just went to sleep one day and then woke up on another planet. She thinks Krypton's still alive, and then Clark goes, I don't know how to tell you this, but Krypton blew up. And then at first she thinks he's a liar. She also at first thinks that like he's lying about being like her cousin. But and she also, here's the other interesting part, she can't speak English. So that's where all that started off, because they wanted, when DC in the New 52, they wanted to make Kara a character that could stand apart on her own instead of constantly being tied to Superman. And they did that really well.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want her to just be Superman's cousin. She has to have her own um backstory. She has to have her own purpose, character development. And I think what was wrong with CBS or CW Supergirl was that she was basically female Clark,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even to the point of her being a journalist. It was like, no, she has a different perspective of Krypton, in her whole journey. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that confuses me at some point is the age reversal. I know that she's like stuck somewhere, so she is in that sort of warp time of she's she remains 16, so in by the time she comes to Earth, Clark is now like
However old he is.
27 or 30 or something. I
Mm-hmm.
get that. But at the same time, it's I don't know. It's a very bittersweet thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also something that is not handled properly to really um, feel that emotional toll that Kara has. They're starting to they
Of course it was handled. Tom King made her a drunk.
they're starting to well, yeah, they're starting to, try to make her a little bit show that emotional side of her. However, the way that they do is so like she's angry to the point of she's gonna turn evil or something. They don't know how, and Clark is the good cousin because he's been raised on Earth. They don't know how to decipher that. Well, yes, Kara, she's more um she knows Krypton. That was her home. She grew up because she's older than Clark. Well, Clark, he didn't have that, but at the same time, they both should feel um that loss.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the same level, but it still should be some type of connection of loss with them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like they do sometimes play up that story again, particularly in the New 52 is where she played it very like where they really went full on into it, obviously, because as we know, even when in the Superman series they're dealing with like his Kryptonian identity. But the thing about this, so Kara was the victim of DC editorial because pre-crisis they killed her in crisis because they wanted Superman to be the last son of Krypton, and they saw, okay, if there's a horse, a monkey, Kara, that we can't justifiably call him the last son of Krypton, so they killed Kara and then only brought back like a Supergirl in the form of Matrix Supergirl that was like a
Right.
shape-shifting alien that Lex Luthor was having sex with. So it's like, what? And then I think Matrix was killed, and then Kara came back in the Jeff Loeb Superman Batman series. This is what's shown here, but it's like I will say the movie did this really well, where I like where it's her experiencing Earth for the first time. It's like he takes her shopping and all that, and she's like going crazy, and Clark's like Clark has to like guide her. It's like some guys are leering at her, so Clark is like glaring at them, so they look away. It's some really funny moments there.
Yeah, and I would say going over the Supergirl run by I think it was Peter David.
Yeah.
Um with Robert, Linda was actually a good character. Like, if you want to be very distinctive about Supergirl, that was the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of difficult to choose because Kara has a story, especially with her with being so connected to Krypton, and that's what Cal needs. However, to really just distance her from that, she's just Superman's cousin, Linda gave that opportunity, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it both ways. And then you have Power Girl, which comes into a total different just mix up too.
Mm-hmm.
And how they've mixed up Power Girl, and they've changed her name now to from Karen to now she's Paige, I think.
Which is so stupid. It's like
Yeah,
they don't know what to do with
they
her.
don't know. So I would say just keep her distinctive, and that's why I would take Linda over Kara.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with Kara, there is a lot of story, emotional, groundwork
Well,
there.
actually, I don't know if you heard, but Linda is currently in the current Supergirl book.
Right. I've heard of it. I haven't read it, but
I heard it's pretty good. I read an issue and I was interested with what I'm seeing. It's written by Josie.
Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I've heard it's pretty good. It's I'm waiting until it's like in trades and stuff, and then I'll pick it up because I'm too far away for me to even hope to like dive in. But it's like the cool thing about Kara and Cal's relationship is that he teaches her like the human part of it, like in other words, like why we do what we do, why we protect mankind, and she teaches him, much like Wonder Woman, to embrace his Kryptonian identity. So I always like that like relationship they had there.
right. Because he needs to. I mean, you need to have that balance of, like I said, he grew up on Earth, so he is very familiar with it. He knows it, and um, and that's he can be a guide,
Mm-hmm.
but he still has lost part of
Mm-hmm.
himself. And with Kara, that can be that balance of she gains the knowledge of Earth, how to live quote unquote normally, and everything that comes with that. But she teaches him, you know, um, who he really is as a Kryptonian.
Exactly.
Instead of him, learning. That was a nice quirk, I would say, that Sewell introduced, that he learned Kryptonian or Kryptonese, but he speaks it in a very robotic way, you
Yeah,
know.
because of course, if you're just learning a new language, it's like, of course, you're gonna sound that way.
Yeah, so that was a very nice quirk, but it can also be a little sad that that is supposed to be his native tongue, but he doesn't know how to speak it. And so with that, he can learn from Kara how to speak his native tongue. And
Exactly.
he can learn his just the entirety of his culture from her without, I mean, he can still read the journals of Jor-El, the holograms and stuff like that, but it just comes together and has this true connection when um, he's talking to Kara, and learning from her, and in turn, she's learning from him.
Exactly. So then we get to Diana. Apologies for this one image that's not working, but beyond that point, it's PowerPoint. But so what? So the other thing is like, so when Kara shows up on Earth, obviously she doesn't necessarily know how to like use her powers and such, and that's like one of the like points there. But I'll actually unshare so I can see if I can fix this. But the point is, Kara uses like a lot of her like Kara uses like when she shows up on Earth, she obviously doesn't know how to use her powers and such, and she goes through that whole experience. And of course, and that's the cool part about the Amazons is like Diana teaches Kara, for one thing, how to be a woman, but also teaches her how to responsibly use her powers. Because when you think about it, Themyscira is the best place to do it, because it's like it's an island of warrior women gifted by the gods. So I'm like, oh, that works.
Right. She not only teaches her discipline, but just to have that, you know, have the discipline, the responsibility, and also just that the confidence in herself. Something again that Cal sort of lacked.
Mhm.
Yeah, he lacks because you can't lose your heritage
There you go.
just because you're somewhere else. You have to still honor where you come from. And I think there's no problem with Kara doing that because she's so ingrained within her culture,
Hmm.
but she could get lost and she could lose it just because she's trying to, in a sense, fit in, with this new world and adjust just so much, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So it's like what I always say with Superman and Wonder Woman is like if I could summarize their relationship perfectly in one word, it's balance. Because it's like Wonder Woman at least balances out Clark trying to show her, here's how we adjust to our life on Earth. And she's like, yeah, you can adjust, but don't forget where you came from.
Exactly. Um, and then with her training on the mascara, it shows that the Amazons are a sisterhood.
Hmm.
They are for young girls to be inspired by. So that is one of the perks. I would say that that was a good story or good storyline, plot
Hmm.
point or whatever, poorly executed
Yeah.
because Diana wouldn't force anyone to go with her, and she wouldn't agree with Batman to have that paranoia type
Yeah.
act.
Yeah,
She would
exactly.
come in a much more nurturing way, and she would, hear her story first, and then see if she wants to go to the island or if Diana can help her even without going to the island. Diana, she is the representative of the mascara. She's the embodiment of all of the Amazons. So to force her on the island, it did not make sense. But
And
plot reasons and
not only that, for Diana to show up and try and kidnap her.
yeah, it's very much just plot contrivance, just for the sake of drama or something.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, the image that yeah, so Brave and the Bold, 63, which this is the first time I believe Supergirl and Wonder Woman teamed up. And it's funny that in order to, I think what happened was Supergirl was in over her head on a mission or something, and Cal was trying to talk her out of it, calm down, and just
Hmm.
it's just she has to be disciplined and responsible with her powers. So because she wasn't listening to him, he went to Diana because he felt that Diana was, the best as being a female, hero, and and she also has that nurturing um vibe. So it's like she's the best to talk to Kara, which is funny because you would think that within that time, or maybe not, that if this was written in post crisis, he would definitely think of Lois as the best, even if she isn't.
And what's funny is they do say that like Kara met Lois in the post crisis story, but it's off panel, and I'm like, heh, 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 heh.
Everything is always off panel. It's
I know you
ridiculous.
can't just have it where she didn't meet Lois yet. You can't just do that. No, you can't.
It's ridiculous how DC they it's a lot of talking and not showing.
Hmm.
And even if they show it, it's just very over the top and it's so in your face and such a cringe, you know, con- still feels very contrived type way.
Well, that basically describes Lois's whole damn character, Britt.
Wow.
I had to. And, but hang on, tell me I'm wrong. I'll
No,
take that silence as confirmation that I'm right. Because I'm sorry, it just seems so forced.
it is because, with trying to have her character as this grand, first lady or whatever, you're taking away really the genuine build up to a lot of things.
Oh, I bet you so many Super Twit fans, and I call them Super Twit because they exist mostly on Twitter, would prefer Wonder Woman be replaced on the Trinity with Lois.
Oh, most definitely.
100% they so would, because they overemphasize how important Lois is. Lois is a glorified damsel in distress and always will be. I know that watch a lot of hate's gonna come on this portion because on YouTube on the timeline it shows you where most people are watching. I'm like, why is there a massive spike at this point?
That is interesting.
Yeah, it so is though.
Yeah, but yeah, you have this moment still during pre-crisis where Diana is. I mean, I don't like that she was the secretary and kind of like that's where the den mother started from.
Mhm.
And but when you have her helping other um, female superheroes and especially younger ones, then yeah, I'll take it as long as the execution of the story um is well done. This, of course, being pre-crisis, and I think it was so much Silver Age, it's kind of like wacky, it's not something that you would take serious. And they did. They having Supergirl and Wonder Woman in Paris, they kind of fall. I wouldn't say they fall in love, but it's just that, you know, Paris in love type thing. You get caught up in a moment and they have fun, hijinks.
Don't tell Twitter.
And then they have to leave their the guys that they have had this time with. And but when they come back to Metropolis, Cal feels like, oh, Diana did, she was able to get through to Kara, and so they both let Cal believe that. And it's just like I said, it's a fun hijinks, lighthearted story. Um, and then the rest of the time, though, they don't have many team ups or anything like that until um, the Batman and Superman crossover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So speaking of that, let's go with the key issues here. So first, I love that new 52 image of Diana kissing Clark, and then Supergirl goes, "I like her." Then Clark goes, "Yeah, me too."
Right.
Did you
That
know?
was
So you
cute.
know Clark has a stupid grin on his face.
Exactly. That was a really cute moment.
And by the other part that I would add on is the new 52 Supergirl series, because it does show that like Clark and Kara having that bond as cousins. And then there's this great moment where a Kryptonian like super soldier named Hell shows up and starts like screwing around with stuff. Like he takes over the fortress. So the Justice League assaults the fortress, and there's like a bunch of robots behind that are like approaching. So Diana stays behind to like fend them off. And then Connell goes, "You're just going to leave her there?" And then Batman goes, "You obviously don't know Diana. The worst thing you can do is get between her in a fight."
Right. Those little moments right there, even though it was written by Scott Lobdell, very problematic, still the moment itself, if you don't, think of who's writing it, he did execute that quite well.
Not only that, there's another moment in this when the Justice League first shows up. So they go to like, so at first, Clark and I'm just going to call him Connor and Con-El show up to talk to Lex because Lex is in prison. And then as they're leaving, the Justice League shows up, and I'm gonna read the narration here by Lobdell. This is really good. So the League shows up in the form of like Cyborg, Flash, Batman, and Wonder Woman. So Diana says, you called us Superman? And then here's a narration. She wants to call him her beloved. He wants to take her in his arms and share with her his trials of the past few hours. But for the moment, their relationship is a secret from the other members of the Justice League, save one. I think it's Batman. Batman so knows. But the point is, those are the types of, because here's the thing, Britt, coming from like a time from reading this now, considering the fact that, as you and I complain about all the time, DC writers take every opportunity to crap on Super Wonder. It's nice to see someone actually like embrace it.
Well, this was the beginning of their relationship. Of course, we can't give Lobdell too much credit because he does crap on it a few issues later. And even in interviews, he say like Clark and Diana are a stumbling block or a monkey wrench or whatever, and basically trying to play both sides of eventually Clark will get with Lois, or this Clark, or he still has feelings for her or something like that, even though he's with Diana. So I wouldn't give him too much credit. He did write that well, but the looming thing of at any opportunity, he will basically dash any goodwill.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's what DC does. It's like, again, it's like when Britt and I were watching a Crisis movie, and we were like clenched up, waiting for the inevitable shoe to drop. Luckily, it didn't. But it's like we've been so conditioned to expect, okay, what's the catch?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like so yeah. In terms of that, the point is, it's a really good run. It's not all written by Lobdell. It just contained like some of the Hell storylines, so it had to include that. But it goes really, really, really deep into Kryptonian culture and such, as the New 52 did. So, Brett, I think you would really dig that series. But I also, it's like, it would be kind of funny if they did do a Superman Wonder Woman wedding, and then Kara goes to Diana and goes, you always did kind of strike me as a mom.
I mean, she is. We don't want to have her actually say it because
No.
the thing is, first of all, the Wonder Woman fans and us included very much scarred with the whole Diana needs to be a mother. The thing is, you have to kind of pump the brakes on that and have Diana more in that big sister auntie role, not old hag auntie, very much the cool vibe auntie and young auntie that likes to party or something like that. We don't want her being the Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Or the strict type, no. But the mother role, again, they pretty much ruined it, especially with Tom King and trying to force Trinity in such a inorganic way.
Oh, trust me. We'll talk about something that happened with Trinity that's utterly hilarious later. But yeah, it's going to be very, very fun with that. So then we get to another like mentor relationship that Clark has and that Diana has been involved with, and that's with Connor Kent. By the way, I want to ask you, Britt, which of the two Connor looks do you prefer, the t-shirt and jeans or the 90s biker jacket? Personally, I prefer this look, personally.
I mean, it depends on who draws the biker, outfit. That is something unique. This one, I would say I'm used to Clark having the jeans and tee. I know Connor started it, but at the same time, I'd rather have Clark in the jeans and tee. And with Connor, he can have the 90s suit because, well, hold on.
Can they at least change his hair?
I would say that it depends on his characterization because jeans and tee Connor is more mature, that he gives off this jock type attitude. And then 90s Connor is more of that playful, very conceited, very celebrity, you know, um, want to be a playboy type attitude, and he does give that 90s vibe. And you know, DC is so stuck in the 90s. That is the characterization that they give him. So honestly, it's not a choice of which outfit you prefer him in. It's more so which characterization they're going to have him with.
Yeah, it's just the reason why I don't like it is because it's too much. It's too much like they're trying to force back in post crisis, and then it was only brought back in because he who must not be named, but had a really crappy Superman run, whose last name starts with B. I have to go through all of because we have so many who must not be names.
You
But
definitely have to
it was because it's the classic story, Britt, of a creative being stuck on nostalgia.
right. And back to the he who shall not be
Mm-hmm.
named. Yeah, because I think the first three you were still on like maybe 10 names that were still in that pool until you gave the last name.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me put it this way: the he who must not be named that had a crappy Superman run. I talk about Jurgens and Byrne all the time.
Well, true.
But the point is, it's like when I looked at it, it's because he brought Connor back because actually Connell was not Connor, so there was that. In fact, that was the one part of New 52 Supergirl I didn't like. I get why, but it's like she was racist against clones, and I'm like, what? But the point is, it's like he brought it back in this costume because this was also Britt when he made a big deal about bringing the Trunks back to the point where he had two characters comment on the Trunks being back. And I go, why am I reading this?
Yeah, Rebirth is definitely regurgitation and
It was after Rebirth because what happened is that He Must Not Be Named was they poached him from Marvel, and the only way they could get him to come to Marvel is so if he could get Superman and Action Comics. In other words, there was no. It would be like if like King was on Wonder Woman and then also got to write Absolute Wonder Woman. That's what we're talking about here.
oh Lord, that idea is just like that's a nightmare and being in hell.
You could say it's unwonderful.
Absolutely.
There you go. But yeah, that's my point. That's part of the reason why I don't like that look, because it's just more. Because it was more of the let's like eliminate the new 52 or even post or even like a version of Connor that I really dug, which was this version, and let's pretend like it didn't happen. And I go, no.
Yeah, the thing is with Connor is Jurgens was very as as I was saying, Rebirth was nostalgia bait. And he who shall not be named, that with the last name that starts with B, um, he was continuing on with that nostalgia train.
Mm-hmm.
But what Jurgens wanted to do was have only one Superboy. So Connor never existed.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Death of Superman, he never existed. And it was actually John who was born after Death of Superman to be the first Superboy.
Well, that's
And
stupid.
then, right. And then after that, it would, they were hinting at bringing back Connor, but he was, when they brought him back, his name being named Connor Khan actually meant, as an abomination.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's at least the new 52 Superboy, I believe.
it started there, but it really was emphasized when they brought him back.
Okay.
In Rebirth, whatever era last name B was in. Uh
This is so complicated, isn't it?
it is. So and that's pretty much where we are now with Connor, is that he doesn't know his place. And even if he did have that little mini series or whatever that's trying to make him feel that he had this little moment of Clark hugging him and saying you're a part of the family and everything, but it still didn't feel genuine at all. And Connor is still um he's characterized as being jealous of John, but at the same time, what's weird is that John is now older than Connor. So
This is so
it's
confusing.
it is. Yeah, so it's all messed up. But Connor, I would say that they've given him a very hard time. Now, if you are to just make it complicated, because of course, him being a clone of Clark and Lex, that that's already conflict enough. But he doesn't need to have this, and especially when Cal, he wants to be accepted and yet he rejects Connor. That doesn't really make sense to me at all. Um,
Hmm.
Even if it is from Lex, it's still Cal will never reject anyone. That's very innocent, and Connor is innocent.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like going to like his hybrid like DNA. What was really cool is that there was this post-crisis series, which it was Adventure Comics. It was around the time of Blackest Night or like before it. It's like he is good dealing with like his issues of, am I more Clark? Am I more Lex? So he writes down a list. What does Clark do? What does Lex do? And one of the things that like you first see him, he's staring in the mirror, looking for gaps in his hair, because it's like, what does Lex do? Get bald. And then what does Superman do? Get the girl. And then we see him with Cassie, which, as you call it, is discount Super Wonder.
I mean, it's consolation prize because Clark and Diana couldn't be together. Some people wanted a super wonder couple, but you get this. I mean,
We have Super Wonder at home.
I
That's
mean,
it's kind of what it is.
uh, I mean that at home was like,
Which
I don't know, maybe the home was like a shack or something.
shack or a trailer park, but it's like even in Young Justice, the TV show, they put him with the Wonder Woman of the team, which is Ms. Martian.
Um, I mean, that was okay, you know. Um,
Wait, we really have to do an episode on Young Justice at some point. It's
eh,
inevitable.
I mean, it hmm. I would say,
I love how Brett is like, how do I get out of this?
I mean, Clark's characterization was a little questionable, especially when it came to Connor, because again, he was very, yeah, you're gonna be weirded out, but at the same time, he was just so overly like, I don't like you type vibe. And then, of course, when they did the whole timeline skip and tried to force in the whole rebirth synergy of now all of a sudden he's with Lois and they have John. It was just very much like contrived. And then you have Connor and Miss Martian about to get married and stuff like that. It was just a lot going on that is like you definitely veered away from the original, not only the original design, especially with Diana, with her being DC AMU retread, but a little bit more complicated. And then you have trying to force in, like I said, rebirth storylines. Too much.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But yeah, so let's talk about a Superman with with Connor, because again, it's like essentially Connor always strives to be like Clark, and it's like it's to the point where he even lived with the Kents for a while, and It's like Clark, as you say here, Clark has always basically said, listen, dude, just be who you are. You don't have to essentially be just like me. You can be a regular. By the way, I love the panel you selected, because that's from the Aftermath of Sacrifice, where Connor's like, why are you like, why are you being essentially he's like, why are you being a dick to Diana?
It is. And that would have been a very good, plot line of bringing Clark and Diana back as friends. Clark realizing how dumb he was being, and
Also,
no.
Britt, remember, at this point, post-crisis Clark has killed people. He killed the Phantom Zoners.
Yeah, but we need to forget about that for plot contrivances.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have a writer who does not like the relationship, even as friends. So, he definitely wanted to ruin it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, but that would require people to actually know the history of Superman, and that's the part that makes Clark's reaction to, well, here's the thing. When you look at Sacrifice, none of that reaction is justified, because it's like, hey, Bruce, so you're upset that she killed someone that can mind control Superman. You literally have your contingency plans for this very contingency.
As I said, plot contrivances.
Oh yeah, exactly. But there was also this storyline in the Jeff Johns run for Teen Titans, by the way, where Connor was like taken over by his Lex Luthor DNA. That's the one where like he shaved his head, he carved an L into like his t-shirt, and like almost killed the entire team. But then they managed to snap him out of it. And that's like always weighed heavily upon him. But like all the team is like, hey, look, we get it. You were under the control of Lex Luthor. Plus, again, him being a hybrid clone of the two, first off, also, the funny part is that when Tom Taylor tried to make me to believe John was stronger than Clark, and I'm like, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's compare Connor to John, because Connor and John are both not pure Kryptonians. They both have human DNA. Connor is demonstrably weaker and has not all the powers of Clark. Yet John does, and apparently is stronger. No, that's not the way logic works.
Plot contrivances.
Well, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Britt. That's going to be the new title of this episode: Plot Contrivances. But it's, and I always feel like, again, before John, Connor was the character that Superman considered more of a son, and I miss that dynamic, because here's the thing: Connor's just kind of there, which, by the way, it also makes it kind of stupid that DC thought they could get away with in DCKO, having them go, they talk about their kids, Damian, John, and Elizabeth. I mean, oh, you mean they're like actual kids, and now like the characters that they've always considered sons and daughters. Wow, DC.
Yeah, as I said, this obsession with biological kids is ridiculous.
It in and of itself is eugenics.
Exactly.
I'm sorry if you're saying that the only pure kids of the characters are like the ones with they actually contributed DNA. That's eugenics. Remind me again how SuperWonder is eugenics, because arguably that. Oh my God. It doesn't really work out that well.
Yeah, but no one is going to actually, that is going to be ignored,
Oh yeah, exactly. So then you get to Wonder Woman as Superboy's mentor, and again, I love that image of Clark in Diana's lap. That's awesome. And then isn't the panel from the very page where from the very like storyline, the "you love him, don't you" storyline,
right?
Another bait and switch, by the way.
Exactly. I mean, this ship is bait and switch. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, with Diana, I would say that Connor, he just like with Kara, Diana will show him that he doesn't have to be resentful or
Hmm.
feel like he has to choose one identity over the other, that he can reconcile both of them. It may seem difficult, because Lex is Lex, but he can, find some type of uh, middle ground.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And again, it's like Cara. It's like Cara. Diana's more like, look, be who. It's Kara as Diana essentially is. Look, you don't have to constantly try to be like Clark. You can be who you are because it's essentially like you don't have to be a carbon copy of Clark, no matter how much DC editorial tries to make you a carbon copy of Clark.
Well, that's not what they want for Connor. That's more of what they want for John.
No, I mean they used to keep trying and push that, but it's like my point is it's the same reason why Diana and Clark work so well, because Diana's the one that's like, no, be who you are, no, be all that you are, no matter like damn what society says, just be your true self. Truth, there you go. And that's again what makes her, in my mind at least, the most important DC character. Too bad DC doesn't treat her as such.
Because treating Diana as the most important character, you are basically validating what we already know. She is the embodiment of truth. So in a sense, DC has to be truthful instead of hiding behind smoke and mirrors and plot contrivances, or revisionist history. They have to be honest, with their storytelling. And also, it's um, the expectations they have to be met. As I said multiple times, they feel like Diana is intimidating, with this self insertion or living vicariously through the character. And so, with that, some of these male writers, they feel that Diana is too much. She demands too much. As Tomasi said, she demands the equal spotlight. Well, it's kind of like, no shit, Sherlock.
Well, here's the thing. This is the man that when he wrote Superman with Lois and John, he turned Lois into the stereotypical housewife. So it's like,
Right.
I see why you couldn't just have her be in the background baking pies while you write Superman.
Exactly. Exactly.
I see. Yeah, he could not have been less transparent. And I go, well, yeah. Well, first off, yeah, you're right. When he says she demands the spotlight, I'm like, she's a member of the Trinity. Yeah, of course she does. Oh, and it's kind of funny, but by saying she demands the spotlight, you know what he's kind of saying? He's lessening Lois. He goes, he's saying, well, and Lois does not demand the spotlight. It's
Basically, yeah.
the one time I'm ever going to agree with Tomasi. Hell yeah! But it would be kind of a cool, like, by the way, story, like a one shot maybe, that where like Connor spends the day with Wonder Woman and essentially kind of like a day in the life from the Jimenez run, but it's like she trains him and he goes to an average day with her, and then they have that conversation where like Connor goes, "So how long have you been in love with Clark?" And at first Diana's all bashful and she tries to like deny, and then Connor says, "I don't need half of Clark's powers to know you're lying."
Hilarious.
There you go. See, it's like there's so much potential for stories in there, and you could do the same thing with Clark, where essentially Clark is like, you could do Clark is like having a smoothie, and he's like drinking the smoothie. Then Donna says, "So how long have you been in love with Diana?" Super spit take, and he's like, "What?" And then he goes, "Where is that?" And then Donna goes, "Where is that lasso of truth?"
But then
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but then it's not even worth it or even needed because they it's so obvious. It's kind of like, yeah, we see how you hold hands, you're always looking at each other, very protective of each other. You don't really need the lasso to know the truth when it's like right in your face.
Yeah, but obviously it's Donna playing a joke. It's like, well, it would be kind of funny if like Clark goes, so you figured it out, huh? And then Donna goes, blind and deaf people could figure out how much you care about Diana.
Exactly.
It's like you're subtle, to quote Michael Conrad, to no one. I had to. I have to reference that, like, that statement every single episode. That's kind of my obligation. But the point is with Connor, it's like he's also one of the more underutilized characters where he really shouldn't be, because it's, and here's the thing, to your point, Britt, as soon as they brought in John, he became redundant, and it's like that's why I do not like John as a character, because again, he is redundant. Connor was here first.
I mean, Jurgen's whole thing of John was to be Clark 2.0. Like, no, even down to his origin. I think it was John was supposed to be rocketed from post-crisis timeline to New 52 timeline.
Oh,
and
boy.
He was supposed to be adopted. This is, of course, he was going to be adopted by Clark and maybe try to break up Clark and Diana and have him end up with Lois. So he can end up having a Clark and Lois still as his parents, but on another Earth, you know. But still being rocketed to another Earth, another timeline, it's like, really, you're that uncreative?
Yeah, exactly. But it's essentially like with King creating Trinity, where the same, literally, practically the same story plot is already being fulfilled by better characters. That's the thing. And plus, it's like, at least Connor they made unique. That's the thing. It's like, even post-crisis Connor was obviously taking inspiration from Clark because he wanted to be a hero, but he had his own unique struggles and stuff. John is just straight up, to your point, discount Clark. It's dollar store Clark.
Right. I mean, even also to add, his, well, now ex, was a reporter.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what? At least Connor was dating Wonder Girl. So at least he was a little unique. Now, speaking of Wonder Girl, the following character is one of the most, is currently the character that I'm like, either has been butchered by a certain unkingly writer or like has been neglected, and that's Vanessa Kapatelis. And I was so happy, Britt, when I was going through the show notes that you included her, partly because, remember, she was also the other character that was like, oh, you got to your point with that panel, you got the hots for Superman.
Right. When you read George Perez Wonder Woman, you see the love and care he put into Diana's supporting cast. Even with Steve being an old man, as he should be, you know, maybe half foot in the dirt, but you still feel, like I said, you still feel that care and genuine development. Having Julia and Vanessa, you also have that foundation of the mother and daughter relationship. And to another extent, Diana is the youngest Amazon. So she's looked at as the baby, or the niece, because some Amazons are like her aunts, or just the little sister, or some of them are like second mothers to her. So the youngest daughter.
I had to, because here's the thing, I'm also in the process of reading John Byrne's Wonder Woman, and he straight up like says they're like her mother, her sisters, and her aunts, and I go, thank you.
Exactly. So with that, Diana never experienced being an older sister or something like that, of being the in the mentor role. So when she meets Vanessa, and she has Vanessa that's inspired by her, that is, you know, wants to be like her, wants to be her Wonder Girl, it gives her so much more. It gives her something to truly like, yeah, this is my little sister. This is someone that I want to protect more than ever. She has that same feeling. Oh, this is how the Amazons felt about me when I was growing up as the only child.
Hmm.
So, um, and you just have that connection of Julia and Hippolyta, as even though Hippolyta had the other Amazons, it's still that single one parent and being that sole mother to a young girl. And so that has a lot of expectations, and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
become very protective. So all those a lot of parallels and everything that goes into Julia and Vanessa and Hippolyta and Diana's relationship that connects them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, even with like, and it's like, and then you have her tragic fall into becoming Silver Swan. And I'm like, so what they definitely could do, if I were DC and I wanted to do this, I would still have her in the Silver Swan suit, obviously, like, change some of it, because it's like she takes this identity that used to be for destruction and turns it into good, and maybe like she like paints like Wonder Woman's colors onto the suit itself. So it's like so it's like she essentially becomes another like. See, here's the thing. I know that like you and like some other people want her to be a Wonder Girl, but since there's so many Wonder Girls, maybe just keep her as Silver Swan, but have her be good.
Oh yeah, she's still Silver Swan. She still has that identity. It's just more so of her fulfilling that that dream, though, that you can technically put her in the Wonder Girl role of the mentee. But yeah, she does have the identity of Silver Swan.
Yeah, exactly. And you could even have like, and then bring in how Superman mentors her. You could have it where Clark essentially, it's like that. What you could do is have it where like I think there was a story where like Clark was mind controlled and people stopped trusting him, and then Vanessa says, "Well, how did you get people's trust back? How did you get them to finally trust you?" And Clark goes, "By working at it every single day. Eventually, they'll come around."
Right. And you also have her even playfully teasing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it'd be funny is if she goes, so how long have you been in love with Diana? And then Superman goes, "Not you too." That would be so. And then she says the same thing to Diana. Diana goes, "Oh my gosh, the patience of Hera. Oh my god."
Yeah, it would be something really, really fun, and
Hmm.
um it's basically like a full circle thing, especially with the redemption of Vanessa, that she's getting back to how, of course, their relationship will change, but at the same time, they could get back somewhat of that sisterly bond that they used to have.
And you can even have an entire mini series called Wonder Woman Silver Swan, where it's them having an adventure, like to fight any of Wonder Woman's rogues. It can even be Blue Snowman for all I care. The point is, the heart of the story is not the villain itself. It's them trying to reforge that bond. Maybe you could have them reflect on like back when Vanessa was younger and Diana would like teach her Greek per se or something like that, or like
Exactly.
or like it's essentially the adventure is like, and we could call the book a Sisterhood Reforged.
Aw.
See, DC, hire us, where we will repair your entire Wonderline. But that's the point. See, again, that's the funny part about Wonder Woman. and the way DC treats her, because it's like the potential for greatness is there. It's like that Star Wars meme. We're on the verge of greatness. And it's like, and here's the thing, Absolute Wonder Woman proves that it's not the character, it's the way you're handling said character, based on the fact that that character, that series has been doing extremely well for a year straight. It's like one of the top DC books, rightly so. Let me be clear, it deserves it, but it's like, because of this series top selling, Eisner Award winning, as opposed to Tom King, who obviously is writing the multi Eisner Award losing series. But the point is, it's winning all these awards, getting all this acclaim. All that it takes is for you to actually put someone on the book that understands the character and loves the character. Look at, you have Perez, Jimenez, Rucka, even Byrne, I would say, had a positive, at least a positive opinion of Diana, as opposed to Tom King, who I'm still convinced absolutely hates Wonder Woman. Because, Britt, have you read the way he wrote her in Heroes in Crisis?
Yeah, the only
Yeah, I know what you're about to say. Yeah,
panel is when she puts her hand on Clark's shoulder. But even that, it was kind of like she's in the background. And I remember when a lot of people were tweeting about that, or even in the reviews, it was like Diana is playing that supportive background wife type role of like a politician. And I was like, yeah, that does give off that vibe. And sometimes that isn't necessarily a good thing. It was supposed to be emotional, and yeah, to feel that we as loving their relationship is supposed to be a moment of support. But at the same time, it still felt so distant.
yeah, exactly. It's because it's like they didn't exactly interact that much in the book either. So it's like, or when they did interact, they were getting their asses kicked by Harley Quinn. So I'm like, no. Or it's like Superman was telling Bruce, she's good, Bruce, maybe even better than you. And I go, oh, screw you, King. That's not, no, come on, stop it. But the point is, it's like when you put someone on the book that loves the character, look at what you get.
Exactly.
It's like, again, it's like you can clearly see Perez loved Wonder Woman. Jimenez loved Perez Wonder Woman, so that still counts. Rucka loved Wonder Woman. More so in the pre-rebirth at run. I'm just going to tell you that right there. Even Byrne, I would say, loved Wonder Woman. So it's like, when you look at the runs that they're reprinting today, when you look at the run, because you know, it's kind of funny, after a certain while, because DC was constantly announcing and King was constantly announcing when like his Wonder Woman issues were getting second printing, all of a sudden he stopped.
Honestly, the second printing was only because of the first two issues. It wasn't, and it was more of like a PR promotion thing.
Yeah, because for those that don't know, what DC does, they order a large amount, split it in half, print half, and then say, oh, we're getting a second printing. Print the other half that we already had ordered.
Yeah, it's very much a PR thing.
Exactly. But it's like, but trust me, we'll talk more about King's Wonder Woman in a sec, though. So now let's talk about Magog. And by the way, Britt, I had no idea that character was also Magog. I was like, oh, really? So that's what happened with that character.
Well, okay, so this is from Boy Thunder. I think it's Boy Thunder. Wade said that he had this origin for 25 years of trying to give well, he says Magog, but Magog, whichever way he said it. He was trying to give him a backstory, and Tomasi edited Kingdom Come, which is kind of like being the editor of a very prestigious, well-known, beloved story that pretty much saved DC, of course, kickstarted, message boards and had Clark and Diana's relationship very much at the center. How could you mess up their joint book?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going based off of course, nostalgia, and you're bringing in uh, Magog here. And so he named him David Reed, but for Wade, he has David, I want to say Sellecky or Sikela,
Mm,
Sikela,
I have
something
no
like that.
idea.
I don't know how to pronounce that, but he has a different last name. So we're just gonna go with Wade's interpretation because
Yeah.
he's the one that sort of helped create the character.
Yeah.
So, but his backstory is that David is supposed to be Clark's first. He's basically supposed to be a mix of all the Robins.
Mm-hmm.
He first, but he also has Clark's backstory
Uh-huh.
of being rocketed to Earth. His parents died, and they saved their boy. Um, so he becomes Clark's Dick Grayson, and then when he goes down the path, of course, he was kidnapped by the Joker, beaten by the Joker like Jason, and he basically becomes Jason. Then,
Okay.
yeah, so he's Clark's Red Hood, essentially.
What is it with writers that are thinking that if it works for Batman, it works with all characters?
Because Batman sells, and they think that, well, if we make every character like Batman, then they will sell, but it just ruins them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, so with Magog, you have this, and also like he's kind of like bootleg Cable too, just
Yep.
for his design. So he's just a mix of a lot of different characters. You don't really have a foundation for him. Um, he's just resentful and easily manipulated, I guess you can say, for
Mm-hmm.
his character. Um, but for him to, I guess, connect with Clark and Diana and just reading through Kingdom Come, even Tomasi's deadpan run, and Mark Wade's The Kingdom, as well as Return to the Kingdom, you do have a story in here that will connect him and make him again that emotionally um, detached or ingrained mentee that will, in a sense, give Clark and Diana that other perspective of how difficult it is. Um, that even though they are supposed to be the mother and a father of the superhero genre and community, that not all of their mentees are going to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so then we get to that, yeah, them being mentors, and it's like it's again with like, see, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there also a theory when Volume 3 was coming out that this might be a future kid of Superman and Wonder Woman?
Yes, it was, especially with naming him Wonderstar.
Okay, I figured.
Not only that, but his design is very much like, why does he have on full gold? His name being Wonderstar, and just he actually has the powers of basically Superman and Wonder Woman, or mostly Superman. So it's like, yeah, with especially with seeing this cover, it was like that's definitely their kid.
Yeah, but well, my favorite part of it, Volume 3, is when he flies off because he's like, "What's that? Someone's in danger," and he just flies away. And then Superman just looks at Wonder Woman and goes, "Don't say it."
Yeah, that is pretty much like, oh, that's definitely like you.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, "See, Tomasi, you could write them well. You just choose not to."
And he chose Very wrong.
He chose poorly, to quote Indiana Jones. But yeah, it was like, that's the thing. It's like, it's not like it was a bad arc or anything like that. It was actually pretty good. It's just, it was relatively meh.
Trying to give way too much.
all of a sudden I was like, wait, is she coughing because she has to clear her throat, or is she coughing because it's a scoff? And then all of a sudden it happens again, and then you give me that statement. I'm like, it's a scoff. It's a scoff.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was,
it was enjoyable. Britt, compare it to the later volumes.
I mean,
you won't give Tomasi any credit, will you?
I mean, crap with sugar on it is still crap. It's still going to, I mean, unless you douse it with sugar, it's still going to taste like crap.
Oh my gosh, crap with sugar on it. Oh my God. Never change, Britt. Never, ever change. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh man.
So.
That's great. But so tell us more about Magog.
Okay, so he has this whole thing of resentment. He feels like the old guard heroes aren't doing enough. And especially when, again, he's supposed to be like Jason now, and he feels he's consumed within his trauma. In Tomasi's run, you have that it starts with the Justice League origin, where the parademons attack and the invasion of Darkseid. So his parents are among the casualties.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lost boy, and Cersei comes to him, and she's like, basically whispering in his ear, like, the snake in his ear or the devil on his shoulder, and it's like, Superman and Wonder Woman did this. They are the cause of all of this, and if you want this revenge or something, I can help you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, like I said, Wade, where he is just a kid with the same origin as Cal, being rocketed from a dying planet, and having that Dick Grayson moment, and then he is traumatized by Joker. I would say that's pretty lame, though, to have him traumatized by a Batman villain. You could have at least had, I don't know, Brainiac or Lex Lobo or something that did something to him than Joker. Like, why does everything
But again, you're forgetting Tomasi was a Batman writer.
I'm talking about Wade.
Well, even on that, it's like it. Well, okay, confused because it's like there are two versions. But but in terms of like with Wade, it's like yeah, that is kind of a wasted opportunity, because it's like you could have it where like maybe he was tortured by brain, maybe here's what you could do. What if he was? I'm gonna fix this. You ready, Britt? His ship is intercepted by Brainiac. Brainiac puts in a little probe in his mind that will activate at a predetermined time period. It activates, and Magog, if you will, is supposed to prepare the way for Brainiac, kind of like how he sends like those little probes everywhere. But then obviously he fights back.
That's so much better.
That's how you fix it.
So much better.
That's all you got to do. It's not that difficult.
No, but they want to make it difficult.
Oh yeah, but it's like, you know why? Because it's easier. It's honestly creative laziness. If you have to go, it's basically Jason Todd. Or like, remember when Tom King is like, I'm trying to make Wonder Woman's Joker, and he proceeds to make like one of the most forgettable villains of all time. Twice, as a matter of fact, with the Matriarch.
Yeah, honestly, even I have forgotten about.
Third, his reinvention of Mouse Man. If I had a nickel for every time that Tom King created or recreated a villain intending them to be very important, but they end up being forgettable, I would have nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened 5 times.
I mean, you might as well go ahead and just add that up to about $100 a pop, you know. Go ahead and get rich off of this failure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even when he had Gotham and Gotham Girl, they had Superman's powers.
Yeah, no one said that King was ever creative.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, remember when he ripped off True Grit and made it a Supergirl comic?
Or ripped off Immortal Beloved.
Yeah, and claimed he never read that story. And I'm like, I would believe that if this were not like legit, like copied from it, like plot and everything. Anyway,
exactly.
Yeah. It's like even the bait and switch is. I'm like, you took even the bait and switch part and copied it. Anyway, but it's like, see, that's the thing. It's like it's a lot of like creative laziness, because it's like, look, you could easily tie him to Superman or even Wonder Woman, like he is taken by the gods, or maybe he is corrupted by Cersei, and that's why he becomes Magog. There you go. Plus, his armor does kind of look Greek as well, and there are a few Greek heroes that wore gold armor. So you could do that as well.
Exactly. And then with his resentment and anger against Diana, he thought that, okay, she is a warrior. She's the one that could really, in a sense, strong hand, certain things. But when he see her as more of like, not so much as a pacifist, but she just looks for the more peaceful option, even and lets it be known about violence or killing, or that drastic measure is the last resort. He doesn't agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get also, so Superman and Wonder Woman's response to him, it's like, obviously they all like strive to like redeem him, obviously, or like help him, because he does deserve to. It's like, again, you could use this again to tell, if you want to tell people why Superman and Wonder Woman are great characters, even though we already know they're great characters, but let's say you want to be the guy that did that. What you should do is make it so, hey, look, let's make it so like there's this character that feels like he is a lost cause. But what we do is we make it is it turns out he's not a lost cause, because Superman and Wonder Woman refuse to give up on him. See, that's how you do it. And that's called organic character growth.
Right. And I will also peg David. I would say he's about 15 or 16.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, and but correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the one in the new 52 in fact a teenager that Cersei like ages up?
Yeah, he was like a 10-year-old actually.
Oh, okay. Because I think like his family was killed in the original Darkseid invasion, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he was like, yeah, he definitely looked to be around 10. And then it seemed like she aged him up to be around that 15, 16. And then aged him up again to be Magog.
Man, it would give he who must not be named but has a horrible Superman run a run for his money.
True.
I had to. But yeah, it's like, so that's what you do. And that's honestly, when people say Superman and Wonder Woman are hard to write, I'm like, well, no, because here's the thing. You don't always have to write them going into like a big fight. You could have the gaming characters or not giving up on characters. I mean, in a way, here's where you can position this. Magog is to Superman what Silver Swan is to Wonder Woman.
Exactly.
In that it's that one character that like Superman refuses to give up on, constantly tries to say, no, you can use these abilities to do good. And same thing with Wonder Woman. So I'm like, no, you see, this is what you could do. If you don't know how to like write, if you don't know how to challenge the character physically, okay, we'll try emotionally or mentally. There's any number of ways you can make this work.
Right. And I really do like that comparison, that David is Clark's Vanessa in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what, that's kind of the position that particularly Wade put him in. And it's like, look, it's like, you can have it where like he where like eventually down the line he and Vanessa do like get redeemed and maybe they become partners. Not dating, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they at least become partners because they both have it in common that they both were lost beings that were redeemed by Superman and Wonder Woman.
Silver Swan and Wonderstar
Yep. Yep. There you go.
would
See?
definitely like a team up with that. Yeah.
That's how you do it. And it's like again, see that, and I just pulled that out of my ass. That's the way you do it. It's you don't need this elaborate story. Just have a story. Obviously, you should have like a threat and stuff, but have it where like the central point of it is not necessarily the strength of Superman versus like a villain or like Wonder Woman's warrior prowess, but have it like their influence or the effect that they have on others. That's why Absolute Wonder Woman is so good because, yeah, it has like epic action against gods and monsters, but it also has like a examination of influence just being near Diana has on someone.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, they are going to stumble. And I mean, that is how you have your character development and the conflicts. But the central part of them is to have an impact in some kind of way. And even if it is a fumble, they still learn from it. There's a lesson within it, and it can start a new storyline where they overcome this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could be the way I would do it simply is that you have it where like David let's say David starts off as a villain or like he helps Clark, he starts off as an antagonist, helps Clark fight a threat out of mutual like preservation and then just steps away. He goes, "You know what? I need to figure out who I am right now. Truce." And then he just leaves for a while. And then later on down the line, you bring him back in a story where he goes, "I've kind of been rethinking who I'm meant to be." And he returns as a hero and not a villain.
Exactly. Definitely a lot of soul searching.
Yeah, and you can even do that as a mini series where his question is basically you can give him the X-Men Magneto treatment from the movies where he goes, "Am I meant to be a villain or can I be something more?"
Exactly, because um, Cersei definitely didn't give him much of a choice.
No, exactly. And he goes, "Now that I have a choice, and well, actually, and Wonder Woman can say, you can, Cersei's been defeated. Ignore her. You now make that you now decide who Magog is going to be."
Exactly, and that pretty much is was the end of Wade's return to the kingdom, where we see Magog with the newer generation of heroes, and including Clark and Diana's son. I would think that that's Jonathan.
Probably, I would say so. And then you have like maybe Lara in the back there with the clear Wonder Woman armor.
Right. That does look like their daughter. I know they had like five kids, five or six kids in Kingdom Come. So
Well, of
maybe that
course.
is yeah. So maybe that is the two oldest. Yeah.
You could say that dating they had some awakened desires.
Hilarious.
I
Hilarious.
had to. I had to. But Britt, so tell me about this rewritten timeline.
Okay, to make it make sense, because as you clearly stated earlier, you were very confused on who is David. So basically, just combining all uh, the stories, but in a very a clear, character history instead of DC's wackiness of here's two different iterations. He has two different last names, two different origins, no origin at all. Just properly pick and choose, certain aspects that make sense that can seamlessly connect together. So you have the bright beginning, which is Boy Thunder, Superman's protege. He he's discovered as a young metahuman and just basically following um, the Boy Thunder storyline of World's Finest. He he trains with Batman and Robin. So it's basically like you have Batman and Robin, you have Superman and Boy Thunder, and that is the dynamic duo. You know, again, he is Clark's Dick Grayson for now.
Exactly.
Then, but you sort of give those hints that David isn't just this pure saintly soul that Dick Grayson was for Bruce. So Bruce is more cautious, of course, paranoid. Robin is, of course, his peer. Introduces him to the Titans. Well, at that point, they were the Teen Titans. And then you have Clark being his moral compass, or, just that kind of like a big brother. Maybe you can have him as like a father figure, just still on the line of Bruce and Grayson. Uh, then you have the shift in inspiration where he becomes Wonderstar. And this is when he basically grew up with Grayson. So when Grayson became Nightwing, he became Wonderstar. So he feels that Clark is a little bit intimidating. So he wants to venture out to something new, just get a new perspective. And that is when he meets Diana, he and sees her. He's been following her for years, so now he kind of gravitates towards her, and he wants to know about being a warrior. He wants to, her follow her ideas and her wisdom. So Diana essentially is the reason why he named himself Wonderstar. Diana encourages, his independence. She encourages that he find his own identity. She respects Cal and everything, of course, but at the same time, she respects someone's individual motives as long as they are positive motives. So that is when we get him having a bond with Cal and Diana. But then things start falling apart where I would say that you can have Cersei, start to surface. So you take that part where he was, maybe they were on like a big mission, and he sees Superman and Wonder Woman pretty much struggling, and he didn't think that they would struggle, from a choice made, and so he makes a choice for them, and it's like, no, that's not what you were supposed to do, and so he's kind of discouraged a little bit, kind of down, and so again, Cersei is seeing this and she's plotting basically. She's like, yeah, she's gonna get in his ear and basically drag Clark and Diana, especially Diana, of course. And then you have Gog, who basically comes in and he sees the power that David holds. And especially with being trained under the Trinity, tying it all in to Kingdom Come, is like, oh wow, yeah, this is a powerful puppet, basically, for Cersei and Gog. Then you have his transformation becoming Magog, where after he has left and David is very disappointed in Clark and Diana. He's angry at them because they didn't receive him as he thought. When he made that big decision, I really don't want him to have his Jason Todd moment. I won't say that. It's more so just like a mission gone wrong type thing. He doesn't get beaten up or anything like that. Maybe there was some casualties, but it wasn't, what Wade or Tomasi tried to, um, force in a sense. It's just something totally new. Um, but it's still very personal
Mm-hmm.
for him. He and then it goes basically into the Kingdom Come storyline where he feels that he can manipulate the public with the help of Cersei and and Gog, that the old guard heroes aren't doing enough. You need new heroes that can, you know, actually take charge. And
What you
this
could
is
do is invent a new like how Cersei creates a villain, and it doesn't matter. We don't find out anything about this person because this person only exists for one reason. The villain shows up, causes a bunch of distractions, and then Magog just kills them, kind of like he killed the Joker in Kingdom Come. But that way, you can have that same like plot point, but not kill a major villain.
exactly, exactly. So you see that he is now being consumed by his anger, consumed by all of this, like he wants to kill. But at the
Mhm.
same time, he's still that boy that was, again, trained by Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. And it's kind of like he knows deep down this is wrong and he's going too far.
Yeah, exactly.
So even though he is very, he's basically corrupted, in his anger, he still wants to be, a part of Clark and Diana's life, or,
Hmm.
a part of them. And he still wants their acceptance. And for Clark and Diana, this perspective is they tried their best and somewhere they faltered. And because, you know, they're not perfect, as that expectation leads you to believe, he is an example of, maybe we need to do something a little, maybe we do need to do something a little bit different. Maybe and learn from that he's not so much as a mistake or anything like that. It's just not everything is going to be perfect. So having that perfect mentor mentee, everyone is successful, everyone is happy, that's never going to be. We all are going to fall. We just need to somehow pick ourselves back up.
Hmm.
And so this is basically the legacy of tragedy. It's that, it seemed like he was destined for greatness. He had everything, but that is not how things were. And it really is the fault of Cersei and Gog. But at the same time, they should have been a little bit more stronger to protect David, but also, in a sense, they should have done a little bit better, a little bit more to help him be stronger against Cersei and Gog's manipulation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Great story. I love it. I would definitely greenlight this.
Well, you can, and we can always hope that maybe it is something within the next 5 years.
Yeah, we could definitely always hope. Now let's get to some rules that we have. So here's the thing. So DC Marvel crossover came out, well, Marvel DC, and they had this story with Wonder Woman and well, Steve becoming you got that vibe too, right? That like that they were trying to make Captain America Steve Trevor. Yeah, I knew I wasn't the only one that was like, well, this looks familiar.
Yeah, I honestly, every time they've done this with the Punisher and Wonder Woman when they did that crossover.
Except here's the
It's
thing: have you read that story?
I don't even want to,
Oh
because I
no, no,
have seen
trust
panels.
me, it is actually really cool.
I mean, like I said, I saw panels and I'm kind of like, no. Um, Especially with the fact that she's supposed to be like in love with him and whatever, is Diana is not into brutes or whatever.
That's true. But,
Um,
by the way, so when I saw this little lady, when I saw this panel on here, I was like, are you literally making it so Lizzie is I almost said Steve Trevor, is Steve Rogers' daughter as well?
did you say
What?
lady?
I said lady, yeah.
Mm.
It's Trinity. She's a girl, right? Well, what's wrong here?
I mean, she's a demon spawn, but
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, it's like when I saw her, I was like, huh. But yeah, it's like, why? It's like, here's the thing. It's like, of all the characters you could, I get what they're going for. I get what Zdarsky was going for, putting these two together. And he picked Captain America just because he happens to be writing the Captain America series for Marvel. So there's that. But the thing about this that I think is like why this just doesn't work. I mean, I like it because it's like Diana John written pretty decently, honestly. But the part that I don't like about it is, again, Lizzie. But it's like the other thing is that how taken out of context the Hitler panel was, where I'm like, read the entire story before you get this. That's why I chose that page as a screenshot, because it's like she literally says we can't just execute someone that's like surrendering. Although here's the part that doesn't work, Brett. When we see the sacrifice reference in this, when Maxwell Lord has taken over like Captain America, and I go, that doesn't work because he's not because Cap can't punch the world to smithereens.
exactly. This whole thing, first of all, it's a lot of red flags within this story. Like, regardless of how cute or whatever Chip tried to be, no, it does not work. Number one, the wartime um setting, Diana as this old hag, old as dirt, Jesus age goddess.
Jesus H.
Like, let that go. Diana is not that old. Please let that go because it just makes her so empty. And the only
Luckily, it's
reason
not.
why it's not
Luckily, it's not.
canon,
Yeah. Well, I'm
right?
saying luckily it's not even canon in the main universe that she's that old.
Right, but it's just still that the only reason why you did this Captain America story is because putting her still in wartime and the whole patriotism and stuff like that, because you think that that's what she is, the sword and the shield, the red, white, and blue colors, to match Captain America, and that's not who she is.
But here's the other thing on that. I will say though, the story they could have easily gone into how great America is, but they didn't.
No, because I don't even think, Chip even had that sort of story. It was just more so trying to justify why he had them paired together.
Well, and not only that, Chip's Canadian.
Oh, well, so
So that explains it. So, but it's like
but it's still
Mhm.
it's still very much you're looking at Diana and Steve as very superficial. And also the Steve Rogers, Steve Trevor type thing. Of
Yeah.
course, that again is very superficial. Um, he also all he did was take certain events within, Marvelverse or DC verse and switch the characters. Like you said, um, the Max Lord panel, that is supposed to be Clark. Even with seeing Steve holding his neck,
Which
like
I'm like,
Diana,
again, that wouldn't work because the reason why she cut his neck is because Superman was so strong she had to delay him until she could stop Lord. She could hold Steve back with one arm and hold Lord and say stop.
right? Or the fact that you went overboard and gave her a sword. Like, no, she didn't use a sword for Max Lord. So why are you even putting this in there? You had her also featured in uh Civil War and crisis, you know. So, I mean, those significant moments, it wasn't genuine because another character is supposed to be in that place. So so whatever genuine moment of, you know, you're trying to make Diana and Steve be compatible, all you're doing is basically a Tom King that did the same thing with Immortal Beloved.
Hey, hang on though. This is better done than Tom King. Let's be
I
fair
mean,
here. At least
Tom,
Diana sounded like Diana.
she did, but at the same time, what I'm saying is, in that sort of example, that it's not so much as a plagiarized story, but it is in that sense
It's
that
doing the
all you
same
did was switch.
tropes.
Exactly. So you just switched the characters. So I really don't have that sort of feeling of impact with this.
Fair
Um,
enough. It's. I think it's just with me is because I'm like, well, at least it's not King, so at least I'm reading a enjoyable Wonder Woman story. So it's like
right.
that's what, except for when the Chucky baby shows up.
Exactly. And then you have the monologue of Steve Rogers, where it's kind of like he says something about the universe tries to keep us apart, but we keep coming back together. And he
Ugh.
says some other stuff. And it's kind of like, okay, how is that? Like, this is not that kind of story. What are you talking about? The universe is trying to keep you apart. So you're having this unintentional romantic undertones of him monologuing, and it sounds weird. Like, no, this is not, you're not really conveying it right in the first place. And so you're saying that basically Diana again is old as dirt, and she's just so happened to be waiting for Steve Rogers for this long or something. What are you doing? And also, yeah, having the Chucky baby is like, why is she here? What is the purpose of
Because
that?
it's an alternate universe. This isn't going to happen. Why do I care about her? I think they're trying to force it and establish that if Diana ever has a kid, it will always be the Chucky baby.
And it's kind of, no,
No.
because you can tell that this is definitely written at the time where DC definitely thought that Trinity was going to be like this popular character. This obviously was most likely finished or finishing up before her miniseries, I would say.
Yeah,
But
because
this,
a lot of these crossovers were in the works for like a while.
yeah, so I would say that you put your eggs in one basket and you
Mm-hmm.
very much uh jumped to conclusions or whatever to think that Trinity was going to be popular enough to have her here. So at the end of this story, you have Diana with so Steve dies an honorable death. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, Steve Trevor dies, Steve Roger dies. It's for Diana to have this motivation, and she has his shield. Again, I would say honestly,
It's
dial
cool though.
even though Diana is to have good characterization, dialogue and stuff, and you have the image of her with Captain America's shield, it ultimately comes down to a Captain America story featuring Diana, and she is, in a sense, a love interest. You don't really, it's not played so much because obviously you had to pump the brakes on some things and very much a short leash. But if Chip really, like I said, the way the monologue was, you definitely would have had Diana in that love interest role. And it was supposed to be a Captain America story where she ends up being inspired by him as DC wants her inspired by Steve Trevor, and she fights just to honor him, which is no.
Exactly. But anyway, speaking of contrived, so this is the thing. So we got two interesting statements by DC. So I'm gonna start with this. So I'm going to do this in chronological order. So in September, we got earlier this month, we got word from Scott Snyder that at New York Comic Con in October, there's going to be a lot of like announcements, like new book creators being moved to other books, creators being elevated to other assignments. So that immediately had me thinking, oh, wait a minute here. King's Run hasn't been selling well. And this, and interesting. And then I get word that Trinity Chapter 5 has been postponed, not by 1 week, not by 2 weeks, not by 3 weeks, 7 weeks, almost 2 freaking months. Now, here is my thinking, why I think the delay happened. I think that they are going to end Trinity's story, and I think they're trying to make it so these runs end at the same time, so that he's not writing Trinity while someone else is doing it. I think probably what this is that they're having him redo it because they're ending the miniseries, or like, I think that what they're trying to do is that I think there's a good chance they're trying to get rid of they've detected that Trinity was a mistake. So they're like, okay, we're removing King from the book. Let's try and like adjust the miniseries ending so it like does not happen. Or it could also be they're trying, because the last issue also had like some changes. Unless it's like a like release date change and not like a plot change. If it's a plot change, it could be they keep Steve Trevor dead. What do you think, Britt?
I would say that again, yeah, they didn't expect Trinity's book to bomb the way it did.
It's royally flopping. Like 134 for a book that was heavily marketed in every single DC like comic book. Sorry, that is abysmal.
And especially for this to be basically marketed as Super Sons 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's almost like marketing a book with the Super Sons has actually turned into a negative. It's almost like you and I were right, Britt. Isn't that kind of weird?
Well, it's a bittersweet feeling when we are right and, everyone is pretty much not believing, or again, DC's whole smoke and mirrors type thing. And then, yeah, when it comes down to it, we are always proven right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's more like, yeah. So I do have a theory that, again, luckily New York Comic Con happens in October, so we're not going to have to wait that long to get an answer as to what's going to happen. Now, again, I don't want to get everyone's hopes up. It could be that like they don't move King off Wonder Woman, and then with Trinity, it's not necessarily that big of a delay. It's the 7 weeks delay that I'm like almost 2 months. That's a substantial delay of releasing a book. That's why if it was like 1 or 2 weeks, or like even 4 weeks, I'd be like something. But almost 2 weeks, I want to think something's happening.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Belon did, say that she was done or whatever, but just because she posted that doesn't mean, maybe she didn't, of course, PR reasonings, she didn't post that, oh, actually, I have to redraw something.
Or it could be realistically, she was already doing the revisions, and obviously DC didn't announce anything, and she had just gotten done with like all the revisions.
Yeah, but I mean, why would they announced the delay 2 days after she posted that.
That's true.
So, yeah.
That's true. So like it could be it's like a writing delay, but the point is it's like it's the Wonder Woman part where Scott Snyder says that like creators are moving around, because I've long said if there's another creative like shakeup where like they start moving creatives around, I'd say there's a 30 to 40% chance King's run survives. I I really don't. If they're really doing if they're really moving around creatives, and the fact that Scott is saying that like some writers are going to be elevated to other projects, I'm like, I want to say this could be possible that they're moving Kelly in on the main Wonder Woman book, so she's going to do Absolute and main Wonder Woman.
I mean, the musical chairs is a little like, it's kind of like you need to give other people a chance. You know, I understand that because of Absolute Wonder Woman, it feels like, yeah, let Kelly Thompson write the Wonder Woman mainline. However, I would say that with Absolute, it's different to a certain extent, but she still takes cues from older stories, and it's been something new, at least for, of course, Diana growing up in hell, and Cersei being her mother. But the baseline is still rebirth, retread in a sense. So we don't know exactly if she has, will she just retread something else from post crisis, or something. We need someone with a fresher idea.
Or it could be Jeremy Adams, because reportedly he has a pitch that he keeps giving to DC, and it's like that. If you already have a pitch prepared, I think that they should at least. I think that if you keep, because he keeps submitting the pitch, and as someone that reads a fair amount of Jeremy Adams' comic work, I can tell you, there's one person that respects a character's lore, it's Jeremy Adams.
I would just hope that Steve Trevor is not involved.
Yeah, that could be what because if you notice, they were kind of trying to set up that Steve would come back in Trinity, but that could be reason for the postponement. It could be they're redoing, at the very least, those like end parts, those like or like those parts, and like deciding, now we'll keep him dead.
I mean, what's the point of him? Honestly.
Well, obviously there is no point to Steve Trevor. People are saying he's Wonder Woman's Lois Lane, and I go, you're not selling it.
Not selling it, and also it just seems kind of, I don't know. It's just very. It's not a flex. It's very much an insult in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, in terms of like, so all in all, I think that this is a wait and see scenario, because, hey, it could be great. It could be 100% great. In other words, it could be exactly what we want, Britt. The point is, let's focus on King leaving the book, because once he leaves the book, we'll deal with one crisis after another, pun intended, because I'm a DC fan. Just deal with one thing at a time. Once he leaves the book, then we can see who they replace him on. Because as far as we know, they could have a wild card writer in there that they put on Wonder Woman that ends up doing a fantastic job. So either way, it really goes into it really, like, it's a wait and see scenario. So it's like, do I anticipate something happening? Like, do I have faith in DC? You may not. But with me, it's like, now, Britt, let's say they do this. They do what we want. Will that give you at least a little faith in DC? Will that improve your opinion of them?
No, because
you are so hard to please.
It's not that. It's just the fact that they do a little here and there and then end up doing something stupid. So it's like, I'll keep you have to earn my trust. Because once you burn that bridge, it's very hard to get it back. So I don't trust DC to actually have a legitimate Wonder Woman story, or just keep the level of consistency.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's like, we'll see. Because if they put a good writer on here, then it's like I said, I could be naive, but I feel like there is the potential for like a Wonder Woman renaissance on the horizon, because we already have the first stage of that with Absolute Wonder Woman. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's a good place to leave it. So drop below any characters that like we missed out who you guys think would be great characters for Superman and Wonder Woman to mentor. And Britt, do you have any stories you want to tease us with?
Okay, so of course I have all the one shots that I need to wrap up and do a full upload. But right now I'm also doing Twitter threads, which my next Twitter thread is the history of Aiko, which is Clark and Diana's anime daughter from the 80s. I
Yay!
don't think we've done a couple of episodes on her, but I don't think that Wonder Woman fans on Twitter, of course, actually know who she is, or the basically the richness of her. And being petty, of course, I am titling it as Wonder Woman's daughter done right, because not only is she this you know fun, lighthearted character, but it is what Wonder Woman represents and what the Wonder Woman fans want, which is still a queer representation, but also that it's not so much as in your face, it is very a natural thing, and um just her being a strong character in representation for Diana. She isn't based on just Clark's side, or she isn't surrounded by male characters like Trinity is. This is solely based on friendship, sisterhood, and just some fun hijinks. And also, of course, some of the things that we mentioned in this episode will be implemented in stories, if not being a story all on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I look forward to reading that because after all, I am your access media. So that
Right.
is my job. That is my job. But anyway, stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Steve Trevor is Steve Never. She belongs to General Zod, and what's the word? Steve Trevor, Steve Never. He belongs at the bottom of a hydraulic press set to maximum. Zoe is the max about for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.